Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, so normally I will do my rant and catch you guys up on what I've been doing for the week at the top of the show. But because, our candidates are out here right now working hard, getting their names out there, I want to be respectful of their time. So we're going to reverse it this time so that we can make sure that our candidates get where they need to be. So tonight, y'all welcome to the show. My good friend, someone who's been on the campaign trail before, and I love seeing him come back each and every time, running in Senate District 45, my friend Nick Marshall. Nick, how you doing today?
I am doing good.
I love it. And running for Hamilton County Council District 1 is Chris Daniel. Chris, me and you can become really good friends. I do apologize for not being your friend already, but how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me tonight, Dana.
I love it. So normally I would have a rant to talk about for us to kind of dive into the conversation, but just so that people can get a sense and a feel for who you are as we open this show up, Nick and Chris, tell us something that has been weighing on your heart and mind when it comes to the state of affairs in either Indiana, your county, or the country. And Nick, I'll start with you.
Well, something that's been weighing on my heart is a lot of our people in the district, which is all of Clark County, a little bit of Floyd, are struggling with the affordability issue. As I was on my way to work this morning, I was getting gas myself at $4.19, and I looked over and there was an individual that was doing sign language with another person. And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then all of a sudden their pump stopped. And I looked up at the figure and they only got $10 in gas, which is about 2.3 gallons of gas. And so then I see him sign and tell him to stop. And then he picks up the hose and tries to get every ounce of gas he can into his car of the $10 that he got. And I'm like, oh, this is real world. This is what's going on. People are trying just to get to work, just to put enough gas in their car to get to work. And I wanted to help, but I was afraid. I don't know sign language. I didn't want to disturb them.
Right.
But that's what's going on in our communities. People are struggling. The food pantries that started during COVID are still up and running, and there are nice cars pulling up to get food donated to them.
Wow.
I could go on and on, but people are, just struggling. I'm doing phone calls, knocking on doors. We got hit by the voucher system back in October, November. And 2 weeks ago, I was knocking on a door and it happened to be a daycare owner. And they said, oh, we missed the kids that got cut with the voucher system.
Wow.
The parents couldn't pay the $100 to $200 and they couldn't keep them here. But we were lucky because some businesses depended on that, but we had a waiting list for people who could pay, but we still feel for those kids.
Yeah, I have a friend who has a daycare, and she had to shut her daycare center down because she could no longer operate with the cuts that came with how much each child was going to get. And so everybody is impacted by the decisions that are coming out of that steakhouse. And I feel for them because this was something that they really wanted to do. And this was a dream of theirs. And they got the daycare center up and going. And now they had to shut it down because they just couldn't afford the cuts that the steakhouse are making. Chris, what's going on with you today?
Well, one thing that's really been on my mind, particularly as I started a campaign, was that it seems like the political atmosphere nationwide in the state, all the way down to neighbors, friends, and coworkers, has become so divisive to the point where we're not able to communicate with one another. And people are beginning to really lose faith in the democratic process as a whole, either because they think nothing is going to work for them, they think maybe things are stacked against them. But I'm a firm believer that as far as democracy goes, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Amen.
Yep. And it's time for just your average general citizen to, step in and become part of the political process.
I
So that's
love
what
that.
yep.
I love that because a lot of people let politics happen to them or policies happen to them instead of them happening to policies. This is a citizen government all day, every day, right? And we all have to, participate if we want to see the changes that we want. We can't sit around and just be keyboard warriors. We have to get up and look. I love that everybody went to the No Kings rallies. Go to your No King rallies. Do all your rallying. But now you got to help candidates. You got to knock doors. You got to make phone calls. And more importantly, you got to vote because early voting started yesterday. So, or no, I'm sorry, Tuesday. Today's the 9th, the 7th. Yeah. All right. Those are pretty. I love that you guys are kind of in tune with your communities and you're paying attention. So I'm glad I got a chance to kind of ask that question. So let's dive into it. Chris, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I am a registered nurse. I've been at the bedside working in emergency rooms across the state and the country for about the last 10 years. I've been in the healthcare space for a little longer than that. I'm a native Hoosier. I grew up on the south side of Indianapolis. Took a little detour to the western part of the country as a travel nurse until I met my wife and we came back here and settled down in Carmel. And that's where we're raising our family, where we just had our first little boy.
So what was it that was going on that made you decide to put your name on the ballot?
Well, like I said, so many people I talk to are not engaged with the process. So, kind of in a broad sense, I am attempting to show my fellow citizens at the very basic level, like this is how you jump in and get started and run for a campaign. It's not easy, but it is worthwhile. In terms of the issues of the day, I've noticed at the bedside, taking care of patients, that many of the concerns people are having are not so much medical, but more these like social determinants of health, like being able to afford a place to live that's near where they work, getting transportation just in daily life, but also to and from their medical appointments, as well as affordable childcare that allows a family to work and afford to live in a place like Hamilton County that's very nice, but also rapidly becoming unattainable in terms of living costs.
Yeah. Hamilton County is one of those unique places. I remind people all the time that every county in the state has a food stamp office. So don't be fooled into thinking just because, Hamilton County has the highest income per capita in the state doesn't mean that there still aren't people who in the county that are struggling. One of the responsibilities of the county counselor is to be the overseer of the budgets for the county. What when you think about your role in that space, talk about what experiences that you have that bring you to the place where you're like, okay, I feel like I see things happening in our county and I can help make sound decisions at that level.
It's really going to fall back on my experience as a nurse where day to day, regardless of what the issue is, it involves communicating effectively with people that are in different spaces, listening empathetically to patients and their needs, and then finding a way to build consensus amongst these various groups in order to have a positive outcome. I think working in, the public sector, you're going to encounter your different governmental bodies that are working to provide these resources, as well as private sector philanthropy groups. And I think finding a way to aid that process, I think, is something the county government can be doing a little more effectively.
All right, I love that. Nick, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yeah. So congratulations, Chris, on your first child.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. My name is Nick Marshall, and I'm running for Indiana State Senate for District 45, which is all of Clark and a little bit of Floyd. Dana, we've talked numerous times, but I'm gonna let the people know my story. I grew up in the foster care system, but if it wasn't for two wonderful sets of foster parents, I wouldn't be the person I am. And that's why, as we were talking a little bit earlier, Chris, me and Josh, your party leader, Josh Lowerly, we have a connection, and we've talked many times about the foster care system because they have adopted and were foster parents. Mm-hmm. But without them, I wouldn't be able to put my name on the ballot, be a college graduate, the first in my family, and also a father of two, and husband of now working on year 10.
All right,
and so,
10.
yes, working on year 10. And that's what it is. And so that farmer put a shovel in my hand, taught me what hard work is on a 40-acre farm. His wife was a teacher, taught me what a true public education can do. That other set was a Vietnam veteran who taught me what respect for our country is. And that 17 took me in and said yes to me. And his wife was a caregiver. She took that title to heart, know the care she gave a lot for us. And so for all they did for me, putting that hard work, that empathy, that compassion, that respect, I want to put that up in the State House and make sure that we reflect all those values for the people of my district and the state of Indiana.
You know, there are a lot of policies that come out that impact people all over the state. Child care, child welfare, the foster care system, being adopted, they are always impacted when there are policy decisions that are being made in that State House. How do you think that your experience, having been a foster child and now being a parent yourself, will bring, how does that experience bring to your ability to be a state legislator? I didn't ask that right, but you know what I mean, right?
I got you. So as Chris knows, or probably going to get ready to hit, daycares cost a bunch. And of course, like I said earlier, the voucher system put a huge impact on daycares, and some closed. And what happened to people who are able to have daycares? It came a commodity. And actually, it pushed my daycare price for my daughter up by $20 to $30. Wow. So now we had to pay more out of pocket. So what can we do? As I think the state legislature was trying to figure out this session, is trying to make sure that they can, in the Appropriations Committee, put funds from different other places into that voucher system so those families can return their children back to daycares and they can return back to work. And so that's a real problem. It's a domino effect because that's an income coming into a family. That's a bill that possibly can't be paid. That's an education that a child could be getting ready for Head Start, if we had Head Start, right, or getting ready for kindergarten. So with that, the foster care system is very near and dear to my heart. And I can talk about that all day, but what I want to talk about is public education. And I want to be a part of that committee because I work as an education advocate. And what we do is we sit down with families. If they have an education barrier, we get them past it. If they need special accommodations for school, or they need to check and see if their child has a disability, we get an ARC meeting called where they get an IEP, which is an individual learning plan, a 504 plan if there's a behavioral issue, or so much more. And we've gone to start working to help individuals get their GEDs. Because I had an individual come up to me when we were helping him. He said, I want to get a better paying job so I can help my child. Can you help me get my GED? And so that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing right now, as well as helping individuals sign up for post-secondary if they graduate from high school or go or get their GED. So I know the public school system is frustrating, but that's due to the voucher system getting cut, voucher system getting so much support and the public school system not getting fully funded. So if we fully fund the public education system, we can have better outcomes. And something that I really want to champion as well, in the state of Kentucky, they pay for your GED test for free, no questions asked. In the state of Indiana, you have to do a waiver. That's $40 per test. Once again, we're going back to the affordability issue. You're going to pay $40 for a test, and there's 4 tests: math, science, language arts, and social studies.
Is $40 per test?
$40 per test. And so
that's $120.
$120. That $40 could have filled up your tank. So what I want to do is work with the Appropriations Committee and the Education Committee. So how can we get that first round of tests free for those individuals like they do in Kentucky? Now, there's a waiver application, but if you get denied, you still got to come out of pocket.
That's
So that's
crazy.
something I really want to champion.
That's crazy. And you know what? There's so much money that is, state legislators in Indiana, the Republican supermajority in Indiana, they love to talk about their rainy day fund, their surplus, their all the things. But we are witnessing people really, really struggling. And both of you talked about it as to why you're running. Chris, you have a very unique perspective being in the healthcare system, knowing that there is a shortage of nurses all across the country. And you're seeing how healthcare costs are really putting families in jeopardy. And then, Nick, you're talking about how, folks are trying to better themselves through education, but then there are those barriers to entry when you talk about tests. When you guys think about affordability, and Chris, I'll start with you, not just the gas tank, but what other areas of affordability should we be addressing as elected officials to try to help individuals in their day-to-day lives?
I think the number one answer to that question is going to be housing. I think not only is a house your safe place to live, but it also is a home. It's where I think a sense of self comes from. And that is becoming increasingly difficult to find affordable housing. Obviously, I'm talking specifically Hamilton County here, but it's a nationwide problem. And when I say affordable housing, you might think like, subsidized housing, Section 8 or things like that. But really, any household that's spending more than 30% of their income monthly on housing bills, by definition, can't afford their home. And in Hamilton County, there's something like 20,000 families that meet that definition.
Wow.
And I personally think there are some really creative and interesting ideas to help solve that problem, but it's going to take some political will because it's going to look a lot different than things have in the past.
I love that. So let's talk about some of those ideas, because you're right. Affordable housing is based on the income bracket that you find yourself in. It's not about, subsidized housing. It's not about Section 8 or anything like that. You said there's some ideas out there. Toss some of them out to us and see. We might be able to get them started between me, you, and Nick.
Yeah, I believe you can, Dana. Ultimately, it comes down to how we use our space. So there's an opportunity to change zoning regulations so that we don't have simply large lots with large single-family 4-bedroom homes that cost,
$500,000 and more.
Yeah, $500,000. One idea is something called a community land trust. And it's kind of an intricate thing, but basically it separates the home from the land. So, Dana, if you were going to buy a house in a community land trust, the CLT would own the land. You would buy the house. You'd get a little bit of help to put that down payment down. And then when it came time to sell your house, and you'd be responsible for maintaining it, you'd be a homeowner.
Right.
When it came time to sell that house, the CLT would work out what the maximum price you could sell it for was. You'd pay back whatever you were loaned, and then you'd keep that leftover equity. So you'd get ahead there, and then we've got this house that's now at an affordable price that somebody else can buy.
So basically, you're just paying for the structure and not the land underneath it.
Correct. Which is like the land is like 20 to 50% of the value of a property.
So it'd be like owning a condo. Like, I mean, it's kind of a single, like it would be a home because essentially my condo, I own the structure, but I don't own the land around it. I just own the structure. That's interesting. One of the things that came out of the State House and I'm gonna get to you, Nick, because I see you were almost ready to go. One of the things that came out of the State House, Chris. I know, that's all right. I love it.
Nick's a busy man.
Yeah. One of the things that they passed out of the State House this year is that they wanted to change regulation on how buildings or homes are built, because they feel like that would address the housing shortage. I personally think that's a dumb idea because, you know, you start changing regulations on how people can build houses, then you end up with a crap house and the thing falls down around you. What are your thoughts on that particular step that the State House took, Chris? And when you think about, you know, if you're going to do some rezoning, changing those regulations on how people build the house, how do you feel about that?
You know, from what I know about what came out of the State House, I tend to agree with you that it wasn't a great idea. Mostly because I think that's something that can be handled at the local level.
Yes.
That's more acquainted with the people that already live in this area, the space that's available, and the development prospects. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. Like it's essentially what I'm talking about doing, but I think we need to, you know, let's leave it to the county and the municipalities.
I get that. Nick, jump in here because I know you were itching. Come on, brother. I'm gonna wind you up, let you go.
So what you're talking about is, I believe, House Bill 101. I believe so, correct?
I don't remember the bill, but
yes.
Yeah.
So and so with that, what we had is what I do is listen. And so we were actually in a town hall with our representative, State Representative Wendy Danchester, and our city council president, Evan Stoner, brought this up and said, this is not going to be good for us. If this comes down, we can't help with those issues in regards of housing. And because you're telling us how to code and what to do with the places that we have in ordinance and zoning. So how can we fix this? And also there should be a line from city, counties to the State House. There's no communication. So you have to have that feedback there. So I think that's truly the situation that we have to look at is it's all coming down from the top and you have to abide by it. And so with that, when I pull out of my neighborhood, Jeffersonville is one of the biggest cities that has a subdivision going up everywhere. But the average age of getting a home is now between 35 and 40. Yeah. It's getting older. So what can the state do? Maybe we can possibly put in some tax credits as well as work with first home buyers. Because I remember before I went to the nonprofit area, I was in banking for 4.5 years. And so I would help businesses as well as everyday people come in the bank, try to see what they can do about expanding their business or trying to get a home. And I would connect them to our mortgage officer. And so there's a lot of different things we can do, not only from the State House, but also we need to listen to our cities and municipalities because they know what's going on in their neighborhoods. And they are now at the whim of Enrolled Act 1 now because they've got to find money that the state shorted them because they try to give property tax relief about $200 to $300, but then end up being almost a tax increase coming soon in 2027. Yeah. So it goes back to the affordability issue. What were they thinking in turn of what's going to happen, not only with housing, but your fire, EMS, and things like that. So that is housing is a big thing. But yeah, I want to go into another issue in regard to affordability is your field is regards of what's the name? Nursing and Medicaid. So with the Medicaid situation, when I was at that meet and greet on Tuesday, I was talking with someone from Lifespan, and they said, we have people waiting for 2 years trying to get covered or resubmitted back to Medicaid. This plays into another story. I was on a phone call and I said, how can I help and what's going on? They said, Nick, I know you. I've been seeing you on the trail. But I said, well, still tell me what's going on. They said, I have a 62-year-old sister. I'm 70, and she has severe disabilities. I'm trying to get these bills paid from Medicaid, but every time I call, I get a voicemail or I don't get a call back, and I have to follow up to them. I'm trying to get them physical therapy, occupational therapy, this, that, and other. The bills are racking up. So what can we do? You just talked about it, Dana. We have that surplus. We have the appropriations committee that can put those funds into Medicaid and help those individuals get everything taken care of so they're covered for that family to have a disability. Or the most horror story I just heard on Tuesday is an 8-year-old that is possibly not going to get covered at Medicaid because they're trying to get everything taken care of, has a feeding tube and stuff like that. And you're like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
And so you can take that $5 billion in surplus and acclimate it correctly, and hire people that can answer the phone and get them to the
he froze up
proper connections they need. Yeah. And that's that. I literally wanted to help right in that moment, but she told me, "No, Nick, I need you to fix this." Beep. I can't say the word.
Well, man, so get up there and fix it. I imagine like this week, the Mango Mussolini was talking about, the federal government can't help with daycare and can't help with Medicare and Medicaid. But even though he is at the federal level, most of the elected officials in our state house are following the Mango Mussolini. They will follow that fool off a cliff. And so that they are aligned with not wanting to assist humans with their everyday lives when you consider everything that's funded in the federal government and the state government are our tax dollars. It's our money. And I'm struggling, Nick, with how so many people who, they'll put their hand on the Bible, they'll talk about Jesus and Christ and Christians. But when you're telling a story about an 8-year-old child needing some real assistance and there's all this red tape, we have got to bring some humanity back to our state house. I mean, I just went on a rant, my bad. But I feel...
You can say that at the end, or we can go right now.
yeah. Like it's frustrating. Go ahead.
It is. I think I'm a person of faith, and I thank the man every day upstairs for the family I have, for the people who stepped in and helped. The stranger helped me. The parable of the stranger. People helped me to get where I am today, and literally, I just feel for that 8-year-old boy, like. We have to get him covered. We have to get him the treatment he needs. And I feel for that 60-year-old sister that has disabilities. We have to get her the treatment that she needs, the bills paid, and that taken care of. And so I wasn't going to tell this story, but people saw me do this. I was on my way to a debate for the 9th Congressional District.
You better be on the move, Nick Marshall.
Yes, I was on the move. And so literally this gentleman was riding a bicycle and I saw him struggling. And he finally got across the street and he grabbed his chest. And I said, "Are you okay?" He goes, "No." So I got him off the bike and I set him down and he didn't look too well. And I said, "What's going on? Are you okay?" He goes, "I haven't eaten in a while. I said, "Okay." And he started to have a panic attack. He started breathing really heavily. So I said, "Let's do some breathing exercises. We're going to be okay. I need you to get everything under control." And he goes, "Thank you, sir." I said, "Just call me Nick." I said, "Are you good?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'm gonna run across the street and I'm gonna go get you food and water." And I came back and I gave it to him. I said, "You stay out here. I'm gonna come back and check on you." And before the debate, I stepped back out and he gave me a big thumbs up. He was good. And the debate finished, he was still out there.
Wow.
And I came up to him and I go, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Nick. Most people wouldn't have done that." And I wasn't going to share this story, but people saw me do it and they start sharing it on Facebook. And that's what we're supposed to do. Our faith is called to help each other. And I said, "Okay, you're good." I said, "But still, it's Nick. And we're supposed to take care of each other."
I feel that.
I'm not above or below anybody.
I feel that. And the point of being an elected official is to be a servant to the community. A part of my rant today, I'm going to be talking about that later on. But we have to be a servant to the community. Like, Chris, when you're thinking about in Hamilton County, I assume before you even decided to run for office, you've already done some community work, right?
I have been active with political campaigns. I've been involved with various nursing groups and activities. Yeah.
Being a nurse already speaks volumes, right? Because listen, when I didn't go, I went back to college at 35 and it was either going into healthcare or IT. and I decided that computers don't bleed on you. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the computer thing. It takes a special spirit to be a nurse. You know what I'm saying? What called you to it? Now, I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but I have to ask.
No, you're good. It was a combination of things. I was kind of raised with the idea that if you're able to help, you help. And I also just have a temperament that when things are popping off, I kind of get calm and focused, and I'm able to operate. I can't tie my shoes, when things are calm, but when things are crazy and you need a calm voice and some critical thinking skills and good judgment, that's where I really found my calling. So that's what got me in there. And just in general, a place to meet people of various backgrounds, walks of life, political beliefs, what have you, where we're all in the same space. We're all the barriers break down. We're all humans. We're all trying to help one another. And it's where you really see that we have more in common than we have different amongst each other.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, honestly, I think about that all the time. The longer I live on this planet and the more work that I do in this political space, I'm realizing there ain't that much difference. It's history that's the difference. What's your historical context or historical, your historical DNA is the only thing that really is different. But bottom line is you want to raise your kids, you want to have good health, have a roof over your head, and maybe take a vacation every now and then. Like it ain't. You ask anybody anywhere, no matter their income, those are the things that they long for. But then, Nick, when we see some of the bills that are coming out of the State House, like last year, you talked about it a little bit, where they were trying to address property taxes, but it ended up really defunding all of the municipal, services like the police. Don't tell Republicans they did that. They defunded the police. Don't let them know they did it. Services, EMS services, and counties and municipalities are having to go and search for and raise other taxes to cover. It's almost like a shell game. When you are in the State House, when you're seeing a bill like that, talk about what your skill set is to be able to work across the aisle. Because even if you flip and we get rid of the supermajority and we are, even if we even it out or whatever, we still have to work across the aisle. So we talk about how you are able to work across the aisle, try to find consensus. I know a lot of people hate the word compromise, but that's what democracy is all about.
Yeah. So I want to address the Enrolled Act 1. Mm-hmm. And so with that, it hit the fire, police, and EMS. And I'm going to use the frank word I've heard from firefighters and police. They're pissed. And the city councils and the mayors, they are mad too, because they have to appropriate different funds and pull it from somewhere else, and they can't give a pay raise to someone or maybe a bonus to someone during Christmas time, that they're out there, working these roads and keeping our streets safe. And so it took that hit. And now in 2027, what's going to happen? They have to make a decision here soon to either, if the state legislature changes it in 27, they don't have to raise taxes, the city tax or the county tax, to recoup those funds. So that's what people are going to see in the second here is your taxes are going to go up. Yep. And then they pushed it back so they wouldn't get in trouble because of an election year. So to answer your question, how are you going to work across the aisle? And that's the question I've always get. Even if you break the supermajority or you don't, how are you going to do that? It's about helping people. I was recently asked a question in an interview, what would you do in regards of legislation? How would you look at it? I said, I would look and see if it's good, bad, does it hurt, does it help? And how can we make it better? Or does it make things worse? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would do for both my Democratic colleagues and my Republican colleagues. Have to go to them and say, hey, what is this doing? And how's this going to affect not only my district, but all of the state of Indiana? Yeah. So we have to have that conversation. The other part is Wendy Danchester, our state representative, has said that some of the legislation that comes down is being decided by the ones who are in charge.
Yeah, they
and so
decide what bills in the back room, right?
Yeah,
They know which ones they're going to call in the back room.
And there are Democrats and Republicans who are sitting on the floor, not even seeing this legislation, and they either have to vote on it or they go along with it. Some do oppose and go against their party. But that's what's going on at the State House. We've got to even this out. If we break this supermajority, not only in the House and in the Senate, we can slow roll some of this bad legislation and let them know this is not good for everyday Hoosiers.
Mm-hmm. And so, and Chris, and we're talking about that, some of that bad legislation that gets pushed down to the municipalities, and you guys at the county level are going to have to figure out how to help offset some of those changes. Talk about, and Hamilton County, I think, is more purple than people give it credit for.
It's definitely on its way, for sure.
Yeah. Like, because the population is increasing, right? You guys are, Hamilton County is closer to, if not over 200,000 people, right? So the more people you get, the bluer it gets. They don't, so, but talk about how you and what your skill set is in being able to work across the aisle, because, you could be joining. Didn't you tell me you're the first Democrat to run for this district?
I believe I am at least the first Democrat in some time.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of these seats for the council and the county commissioners, they're generally run unopposed.
Okay.
Year in and year out.
So how do you work across the aisle?
Well, it's important to know, I think, where you're at, right? So it'd be great if every Democrat won, we'd go in there and roll things.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, right. That's the goal, right? But even then, there's still the county commission that's all one party, right? I think the general goal is to build consensus and find areas that you can demonstrate putting money into the certain projects will make a healthier community overall, and that will benefit all of us economically and socially, right? We were talking about SCA 1. In the wake of that, we immediately at the county level canceled plans for a child care center that was going to be for county employees, as well as the planned construction of a domestic violence shelter, right? The loss of those things hurt the whole community, not just the people who use those services specifically. And I think being able to demonstrate that and find ways to offset certain costs or prioritize those things will go a long way to demonstrating that you're not just there to be the Democratic candidate. You're there to represent this very purple community that is, it's becoming more urban. It's got the rural side to it. It's got its arts and culture areas. It's a really kind of a dynamic place. And I think recognizing that and coming from that space is going to be a key to success, working with people who might think differently than you or have different priorities than you. Yeah,
so that's why I decided not to run for office again, because I might actually win one day. And I draw the line at people who are running around super excited about being endorsed by the Mango Mussolini. So now, this week, our governor decided that he was going to he was going to suspend the gas tax, right, to try to give us some relief. But I've also seen Republicans talk about how they're putting affordability in their talking points. And they are talking about how they want to help reduce the cost of living and things like that. But the Republicans have been running our state for more than 20 years. When you are talking to your constituents, and I'm not saying that you're supposed to just hate on people, but you got to draw the contrast. How do you draw the contrast between what's been happening for the last 20 years in our state and the struggles that we find ourselves in, and then Republicans who sit there saying, no, we care about your affordability, let us fix it. I just have a hard time believing that somebody from a party that has created the crisis that we are in is going to have what it takes to get us out of it. So, Chris, how do you have those conversations with your constituents?
Well, Dana, I don't know if you've ever been to the Hamilton County Council Chamber, but in the back wall in big gold letters is a sign that says, "The government that governs best governs least."
Mm.
And I feel like that's the Republican mantra and has been, since Ronald Reagan,
Mm-hmm.
where if you cut taxes and let the market do what it's going to do, everything will work out fine. And we're seeing in Indiana specifically the actual product of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where a certain very small percentage of the population is going to do great, but financially, other things are going to become unattainable. I think the contrast you draw then is not a government that governs least, but rather a government that's active, engaged, and focused, and has a vision for the future that it's going to work to attain.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I got to be respectful of time. We're getting close to the time when Nick, who you hear he's all over, he's got some place to be. So I want to make sure that I get that. So Nick, before we close out, tell me the 3 top priorities when you win this election that you're going to try to tackle when you get to the State House.
Yes. And so this is, I really wanted to answer that question too. So one of the things is that people are talking about is of course, the affordability issue, but with utilities. Utilities have skyrocketed. And what is some of those happen to it? Due to the data centers. So with that, there has to be legislation that holds them accountable, and they pay their fair share and they're not getting all the tax breaks they're supposed to be. And that cost of the utilities is not being pushed back onto the users or the people who are paying the bills. One of the things as well is during the hot and summer months, hot and cold winter and also summer, you don't want to get your utilities cut off because people are having trouble, paying bills. So we have to look at the disconnection fees. We have to look at how much the rates are going up, and we have to make sure that they don't get cut off during those times because you don't want someone having a heat stroke or freezing to death in winter.
Right.
So one of those things is to look at the affordability issues, what we can do in regards of utility prices. Another one is fully funding public education. We talked about that. And of course, making sure our fire EMS and police are taken care of. Those are the 3 things that I want to champion. But I know what's going to happen when I get up there. They're going to be like, "No, you're too good at that. We're going to put you on transportation and the roads."
But that's okay. That'll give you something new to learn, and you become an expert at that.
Yeah. And so, but of course, what's near and dear to my heart, I'd love to be on the Family Services Committee too, to make sure that the kids in care, adoption, grandparents that are taking on their grandchildren too, I have that personal perspective. So I'm a jack of all trades, master or none, but there's more to that at the end too, if you find that out. But those are some of the things I want to tackle and make sure that you said that Governor Braun cut the sales tax. Democrats have been wanting to do that for a while.
Yeah.
And that shows the potential of what we can do. Okay. If it lowers your gas by 18 cents, that person that got $10 today could have $3 a gallon, $3 in their tank right now, maybe $4.
Yeah.
So that's what it all has an effect. So we have to really look at the legislation from each committee, appropriations to education, make sure the voucher system is held accountable as well if they're going to put their thumb onto the public school system. But those are some of the things I want to look at and change. But once again, I'm going to look at the legislation. Is it good, bad? Does it help? Does it hurt? And who can I work with it to get this passed?
I love that.
And if that's across the aisle or with my colleagues, or also the other thing is we got to push it back against our own party too. If they try to pass something that's going to hurt my district.
But you know what? I'm going to be real honest with you. I've not really seen in the years that I've been watching the State House, like Democrats haven't really been trying to do anything that harms people. I know that wealthy people will say, "You're trying to make me pay more in taxes, but it's for the greater good of the community." And I'm not just being like a party foodie, but I've watched legislation. I've seen it, and
Yes.
we're talking about how do we improve healthcare costs and bring down, the cost of utilities, all the things that you're talking about. So I haven't seen. Maybe there's something out there obscure that I've not seen, and I know that we've had Democrats vote on things that we wish they hadn't have voted the way they voted, but they didn't introduce them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, this is true. This is true. I'm just getting. Hey,
Yeah.
it might happen. It might happen, but I gotta be ready.
But
Anything can
I got
happen.
you. In
Yes.
other words, you're just not going to tote the party line. You're going to think for yourself. I love that. Chris, what three issues are you going to hit? I got to make sure I get these in before y'all head out here. What are the three issues are you trying to get into? When
Yeah, so we touched briefly. Hamilton County is growing rapidly. The population here is expected to grow by 20% by the end of the decade. I'm going to focus on engaging with the public and private sector to find creative solutions to attainable housing. I'm also going to work within the council body to make sure the infrastructure to manage that growth is handled correctly. I know several of our candidates, the Democratic candidates, are engineers. They're very excited about talking about infrastructure. And then I'm going to call this government responsibility or transparency. We didn't get into this space very much, so I'm not going to talk too extensively on it. But local government is very, very important, and it often goes unnoticed. And when it goes unnoticed, sometimes bad things can happen.
Yes.
All I'll say is all I can say is our current lieutenant governor got his start in politics because the Hamilton County Council appointed him to the library board.
Oh my God! And he was a chaos creator. I know. I
Chaos
understand
creator.
that.
Yeah. So bringing some debate and some deliberation to those kind of proceedings is going to be very important as well.
All right.
Dana, can I get 30 seconds on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
He is correct. Accountability and transparency. If we had this in Clark County, we just got done. Hopefully, the end of the Jamie Noe situation where the Republicans had control of a lot of things, but the sheriff was embezzling money. And finally, when they pulled the books and he retired, they caught him. So if there was more reporting, more transparency, and the money from the county and the city wouldn't have got lost, and not to mention from the district. So you are correct, Chris. Accountability and transparency needs to be there.
And he ought to be ashamed of himself. He just took from people he just took taxpayer money and was buying boats and cars and stuff. I mean, it wasn't even like, anyway. All right, guys, I love this conversation, and I'm not trying to rush, but I do want to be respectful of your time because I know you got other places to be. Nick, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes. So if you want to flip this seat, District 45, and you believe that we can do this, I need you to go to HoosiersForNickMarshall.com, sign up for our newsletter, keep up to date what we're doing on the campaign trail, and donate. Every dollar goes towards flipping this seat, and we can take down he's the second in command, Chris Garton, known as the AI Santa beat up person. I had to deal with that on Christmas. That's a whole nother question for another day. But if you want to have, you talked about, it's time for, they've had 20 years to do this. That is the status quo. It is time to do something new because the status quo is not helping you, and you have an alternative with me as the new representative of District 45 that will put change and put more money back in your pocket.
I love it. I love it. Chris, wait, last question. Do you have any volunteer opportunities coming up, Nick, that people can volunteer for? Or any events coming up?
Not at this time. I'm going into an event, and then I'm going to be doing the GOTV. So soon we will have, I don't have a primary, but we will have GOTV. We're making phone calls. We'll be going door to door, and those events will be posted on my social media page for Nick Marshall for State Senate. And you can sign up on my Hoosiers for Nick Marshall to volunteer as well.
I love it. And Chris, tell the people where they can find you.
You can visit our website, ChristopherHamiltonCounty.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, Christopher Hamilton County. You can find me out right now, knocking on doors and canvassing with some of our great candidates for the Indiana State House and Senate around Hamilton County as well. We're also going to be getting out the vote through the Hamilton County Democrats. if you're in Hamilton County and if you are one of those people that thinks, man, I didn't know there were Democrats in Hamilton County, get in touch with your city clubs. I've been to Carmel and Fishers. Both their clubs are incredible, enthusiastic, and engaged, but they're everywhere. Westville, Noblesville, Sheridan, all of them. Get out there and start knocking on some doors and making some phone calls.
I love it. And do you have any events coming up? I know you said you're going to be knocking doors, but do you have any events for coming up?
No events planned at the moment, but once we get through this primary, and we'll be doing some events with our fellow council candidates.
All right.
So stay tuned.
Listen, guys, you two brought a nice, refreshing servant mentality to this conversation, and you're bringing it to your races. I love that about you guys. I wish both of you the best of luck, and thank you so much for coming on Turn Left.
Thank you.
And tell
Thank
your
you for
boss,
having us.
Nick, tell your campaign manager I'm 3 minutes over, but I did my best.
It's all good. Thank you. You go do that rant.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com. All right. You know, those were two really nice candidates that we just talked to. I like their vision. I like their ideas. I like that they are pretty much connected. I stay neutral in primaries. Y'all know that. But you know what? If you like those candidates and you like what they were talking about, click that donate link right there and donate to their campaigns, or go to, figure out a way that you can get involved, because sitting out is no longer an option, right? The Mango Mussolini, the Orange Menace, all the things that I call him, he has influenced negatively the vast majority of Republicans, specifically in our state. I mean, they grovel to be on his good side, which means they ain't doing nothing good for you. So I need everybody to just get involved, help these candidates, donate to their campaigns, and figure out how you can show up and help, because early voting is underway. It started on Tuesday. Hopefully you got registered. Last week I tried to remind you to get registered. This week I'm begging you to get out and vote. Do not sit around and wait. Get out and vote. Now, I want to talk about something that is kind of Indianapolis specific. And I need I need people to be able to separate one thing from another. Okay? So what happened to Councilman Ron Gibson's home being shot at? I think that's horrible. Oh my God. Please, y'all, when we got to find better ways to deal with our anger, because that's what, it sounds like it was somebody that might have been angry. We've got to find ways to deal with disagreements differently, because shooting up somebody's house, what did that solve? What did it change? Did it alter anything? No, it didn't. So let's find a way to harness that energy in a different way, because that's not cool. That's not cool, shooting up somebody's house. But I do want to talk about Ron Gibson. Now, y'all know normally I tell you I don't talk about people, I talk about policies. But in this instance, I had to talk about the person who voted and advocated for a data center right here in our neighborhood. And not that he just voted for and advocated for it, he actually mocked his constituents at the voting. He mocked them by waving at them. So not only did, we encourage local folks to get involved, and the Martindale Brightwood area did just that. Multiple organizations came together and said, hey, we are speaking for our community. This is something we do not want. Ron Gibson, we do not want this. And the lack of attention that Ron Gibson gave to this community speaks volumes about him and his service. Not about, I'm not speaking to his character. Y'all can do that. I'm going to say this one time. Brother, you failed us. You failed us badly, and then you mocked us after you failed us. Like you found pleasure and joy in denying to the people of Martindale Brightwood something that they were asking you for, and that was, hey, vote no on this data center in our neighborhood. You sold us out, Ron Gibson. And this is about policy. You, as the city councilor, I've seen your posts. I've seen all the things that you talked about this being a blight in the area. But bruh, you're the city councilor. It was your job to find ways to use that property differently. And not just take the first thing that came to you, which is a data center that is going to cause significant harm to our community. You didn't do your job. You didn't do what we sent you to the city county building to do, and that is to serve and represent us. You forgot that part. You forgot that part. And then you mocked us. I wasn't there, but I saw the video. The mocking, you could have, look, bruh, you could have voted the way you voted and then just kept your head down. But you mocked us. So, y'all, don't go shooting the man's house up, because the vote's already done now. It's already done. He sold us down the river. It's a wrap. But what we can do is exercise our civic duty to participate in the citizen government. And it starts with this election. It starts with between now and May 5th, you getting your voices heard. And for those of you who are out there talking about my vote doesn't matter, or, it doesn't count, let me tell you something. The SAVE Act that they keep trying to say is about protecting voting integrity and all of that is nonsense. It is another way to shave another 9 to 10% of eligible voters from the rolls. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to show up. Sam White, whatever his name was, he told you. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to show up and let your voices be heard. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do without you having any input. And one of the things that they have done systemically over the years, over decades, is convince you that your vote doesn't count. They've convinced you of that. And so therefore, in Marion County, our voter turnout is like 40%. And in the primary during an off year, it's in the teens. It's in the teens. So not participating is not going to solve the problem. I need y'all to understand that. You've got to participate. We have so many races to vote for this year. Indianapolis is not like other counties where, there's not a lot of competition. There's competition up and down the ballot in Indianapolis. Doesn't matter what house district you're in. Doesn't matter what City district you're in, there's competition at every level in Indianapolis. Even county elections. Only one I think that isn't being challenged is prosecutor. But here's the thing. We allow people to pass policies that harm us, and then we complain about it after the harm comes when we had an opportunity to stop the harm from happening in the first place. We just have to get engaged. We have to convince ourselves that it is necessary to make a plan to get to the polling place and cast your ballot. It is so important. It is so necessary. Every vote matters. Every vote matters. And Black people, I know this country has been awful to us. I know this. Please. I know this. I'm a woman and I'm Black and I'm gay. I see how I got to fight for just the right to exist as I am. But Black people, we have the ability to really change the landscape in politics. We really have what it takes. But if we continue to sit around and act like we just gonna sit it out when it comes to elections, the white Christian nationalist racist people will continue to run roughshod over our country. That's what will happen. I'm sick of the racists. I'm sick of every time I turn around, Pete Hegseth is firing somebody because they want to take Black people out of the promotion chain. Sick of that. I'm sick of listening to the Mango Mussolini talk about, we don't have enough money to take care of daycare, but we can drop bombs on Iran. And oh, by the way, you now have a worse deal than the one you ripped up with Barack Obama had. We got dumb people and unqualified people when it comes to governing, right? They're great grifters. Oh, they're masters at grifting and taking from you, but they're terrible at governing. We're in a war with no plan. Aren't y'all sick of being the laughingstock of the world right now? Aren't you sick of it? Hey, we're going to dog out the European nations every chance we get, but then, oh, wait, now I need y'all to come help me win this war. Whatever. I don't care how many women from his cabinet he fires. Not shocked. He don't like women. He gave him a job because he knew he had to, and now he can get rid of them. And Tulsi Gabbard, your day's coming too, turncoat. Manchurian candidate. Yep. Your day's coming too. Because it's got to be, the good old boys club times 10. And I need everybody in Congress to work a little harder. Obviously, Mike Jones in the House ain't doing nothing but kissing butt. So I need everybody to get involved and stand strong, but you got to show up to the polls. This is not the year to sit it out. It's not. So early voting is underway. Indiana's Own is bringing you the candidates. And then once we get through this primary, we'll figure out we'll bring more candidates on who hadn't been on, who won their primary or didn't have a primary opponent. We'll get some candidates. We'll talk to some candidates who are in the State House, who are shaping and crafting this last General Assembly session. Trust me, I'm bringing you the people. And don't forget that there are other people out here with podcasts that you can go and listen to too. So there's no reason that you can't find out about what's going on in Indiana. There are people up and down the state bringing it to you. I know that you're busy. You got kids, you got school, you got work, you got spouses, you got everything. But take a few minutes out to cast your vote in this year's election. Do not let it sit in your spirit that you didn't do everything you could to make America in the image that you believe it should be. And that is better for everyone and not just a few. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Indiana's Own Dana Black. I will holler at y'all next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.